This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you are all doing great and ready for another session. So let's quickly recap what we have covered in the last class. So yesterday we learned about while loops, including infinite loops and how to control them. And then we explored conditional statements using if, elif, and else to make decisions in our code. So we covered like while loops, conditional statements, and we did an uh, activity with nested while loops, creating tables for 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So today we'll start with functions concept, how to create user-defined functions in Python. And then we'll also discuss about global and local variables. What is global variable, local variable, understanding what's the scope of variables here. And then we'll introduce the data structure, the first data structure called list in the end. So let me share my screen. I've already shared the collab notebooks here. So like once the final group gets formed, what we are going to do is we are going to have a Word document where we'll have every day's class link getting updated in that Word document also. So you'll be having a Word document with all the lessons at one place, all the links at one place, and because like we'll be sharing every day one link, and if you just want to have any other lessons link, you have to scroll up and down in WhatsApp groups. So don't worry for that. For now, I've just shared today's link already in the chat. So you can also try opening it, and I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, we'll start with functions, and then we'll see what is a module, and then list and the features of list. List is a data structure. So we'll see what is a data structure and all. So, and is my voice clear for you? Just give a thumbs up if my voice is clear for you. Okay, great. Thank you. And so what's a function? So what is a function? So in layman language, we can say like function is like a machine which takes some input, so not always required again, and gives some output. So any function would have its own designated task, and we have seen functions like print before. The task of print function is to print whatever we write it inside the print function. The task of type function was to show us like what's the data type of it. The same way, yeah. So if you don't have any ready-made function, we have to create our own user-defined functions. So we have a syntax for it. So function is like a machine which takes some input and gives some output. Like in real life also, you'll be having an ATM machine, right? So it's a machine. The function of an ATM machine is like you put in the debit card, you give your details like PIN as inputs, and it is going to return as cash and receipts as the output. So the task of ATM machine is to take in the details and give us the cash. So, and the main purpose of ATM machine is that it's not one time it's not designed for one time use, so you can reuse it. So the main purpose of functions is to reuse it. So the function is a block of organized reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. So while on functions, functions help in reducing code repetition, and it is going to organize the codes, and it improves the readability and reusability. So we have like inbuilt and user defined function, inbuilt ready-made function, both are same. Like we have print, type, all these are ready-made functions. We don't write code for it. We can directly use them. So we have user defined functions, which we create for our own purpose. So depending on the task, we are going to create it. But the syntax for creating a user defined function is def keyword. You are going to give a name for the function. So if you remember from the first lesson, like we spoke about Python identifiers, when you are naming a variable or a function or a class, anything, like we have to follow those rules. Like it cannot start with numbers, no special characters, no spacing and all. So we can name a function, and brackets, you can give the input, you give the colon, and the task you can write it inside the block of this particular code. So the function attributes must be written in the subsequent lines after leaving 2 or 4 spaces, indentation. To exit the function, again we are going to just remove the spaces, will come out of the block. And the function name must begin with a lowercase letter. So it's not compulsory, like we are going to usually start the names of functions with lowercase letter. It's like a convention. So yeah, first we'll try to create a function which takes input and returns output. So before that, to do a simple addition, what we have done before is we have created a variable like a equal to 6 and then maybe b equal to 8. Then if I want to do the addition, I would have done like a plus b and maybe store the result in one more variable and just print c. Then if I just run it, then like two variables are created and we add it and save it in one more variable c here. So this is a simple addition we have done here. But here, if I have to do it for different example, I just have to create again with different values, then I would have got the results. So when I create a function for simple addition, I can reuse it multiple times for addition. So we'll create a simple user-defined function where it would take two inputs as two numbers as arguments, or you can call it like input, and returns their sum. So we can see that the syntax is def keyword. So I'm going to give def keyword here and the function name. So add numbers is the function name, and we are going to give two inputs. So I can make like a comma b colon, and then here I'm going to define this function. You can just write result. So this is also again a variable. You can put it like a result, or you can just make it like, you can just give like r a plus b, and then there is one more keyword for a function which is like return. So when you have written, so whatever you are expecting from this function, we'll use a return keyword and we just write. So after adding, we want to see the output, the sum of these two inputs, whatever we give here. So creating a simple user-defined function is this way. You use the def keyword, you give a name for the function. Here the task of this function is to add two numbers, which we pass here in the uh, functions brackets like inputs, and we want them to add together, save it in one more variable, and we have the return keyword here where it we just returned r here. So if I just run it, you don't see any output here, right? Because I just created a function, but if you want to see the output, then we have to call the function. So the name of the function, and now you can give any input. Like if I just give like 5 comma 8, then you're going to get the addition, and we got 13 here. So if I just need addition of 10 comma 8, so I can use reuse it. But the thing is, when you have created the function, there are some constraints. Like if you have created a function to take in two inputs, but you are just giving the third input like 8 here. So if you just run it, it would throw error. So let's not complicate. Like if you really have constraint of not knowing like how many inputs you are going to provide, we can customize that. Let's not do it right away. For now, you just know, like, if you just create a function with two inputs, if you do something like this, it is going to throw error. So okay, so if a function which takes input but does not returns any output, let's see if the same function, what happens if you don't have a return for it. So the same function, I don't have return. Like let's name it like add number 1. So I created a function, but I don't have return here. For some problem statements, a function may take one or more inputs, but it may not return any output. So if you don't have return and you just create it, you won't get any error here. But when you call this function just by giving two numbers like this, you can see it just added, but you don't see the return of this particular function here. So we need the return function. So if you want to see some output from this particular user defined function, we should have a return statement here. So if you returning a here, so let me just name it like 2. So it's taking 2 inputs and it's returning A. If I just call this function num2 and just give like 3 comma 8, what do you think would be the output? Will it be 11 or will it be 8 or will it throw error? What do you think would be the output if I just create a function where it's returning A? You can put it, okay. 333, okay, correct. So we are it's adding, like it's storing it in R, but if you just create this function, since you are returning A, it's going to return uh, A itself, like the A value is 3 here, so you're going to see 3 here. So if you create a function without any input but you are returning a string here Python, then if you just call this function 3 times, then it's going to print 3 times Python here. So let's show one more, just a second. Like if we have a print statement here, like you have a function and you have print R, and then you have return R. And I just created a function like this where you have print R and return R, and then I'm just adding 10 comma 5. What do you think the output would be? Okay, so okay, you just need the link. Okay, just a second. So I'll provide you the link. So you can see here. So let me just put the code. So you just see this code once. Let me just share the link again. So here we have created add number A and B. It's going to give result A plus B and print result. So you don't have written, but it's printing it here, right? So what exactly is happening here is, so when I now call this function and you just give like 8 comma 8, it would print the result. But the difference between having a print statement and having a return statement where you have written that particular value, what happens is it's going to print the result but does not return anything. That means, like, if you're calling this function and you are saving the output in some variable, so for this particular problem statement here, now we don't have the return, right? So I'm calling this function and I want to save this output in any particular like variable here, and if I just want to print this output, you would see that like it would print 8, but when I'm saving it in a variable and then want to see the result, it would be none here. So just understand the difference between having a print statement and return statement here. So printing, the task is to just print the output result here, but when you create a function, call a function, if you want to reuse that particular output in some other code, so since it didn't have the return statement, you would see like output is none here. So it's yeah, just observe this. So if I just give like 10 comma 5, if I just run, you see the output. But if I want to save it in some variable, like just want to save the output in some variable, and then I want to see okay, just a second. If I want to print the C, yeah. So with print, it's none, right? If I just want to, yeah. So there's a little slight difference between the sprint and having the written. Just go through this. Any questions with creating user-defined functions? Syntax is very simple. Def keyword, give a name, and the inputs and the code depends on what for which task we are creating the function. And we have a written function, written keyword. Without written, like you're not going to see any output from the user-defined function. So these are the main things you have to remember by creating a user-defined function. Okay. Now, any idea what is global variable and local variable? Have you heard about global and local variable before? So we have seen variables till now, right? So we have something called global variable and local variable. I think we have this in other programming languages too. So when we have user-defined function, any variable which is created outside the user-defined function, we call them like global variables. So the variables which we create inside them, we call it like local variable. So the variables declared outside user-defined functions are called global. The variables declared inside user-defined functions are called local. So to modify the value stored in a variable using a user-defined function, we need to declare that variable with the global keyword. So you would understand the note when we do this example. So let's write a function that uses a global variable and changes its value. So let me just create a simple uh, so first we'll do the activity, then we'll discuss about it again. Like first let me just create the same addition like which we have created before with different variables, like maybe okay b and c, and I'm adding them. Sum equal to b plus c, and then what I'll do is I'm returning the sum. It's a simple function which we have created above. I just created it again, so you can directly call the function. It would give us the output like 7 plus 8 here, because this is what we have done before also. So let's copy this, and for the same example we'll add one global variable, one local variable. As per the definition, any variable which is declared outside is global, any variable which is declared inside user defined function are local. So let me create one global variable outside the user defined function, like a equal to maybe 7. Okay, already a equal to 10. And inside this function, let me create one more variable, which is d equal to maybe 3. So this is global variable which we just created. This is
Is that B or D?
which one here? It's d.
Uh,
Just right. Yeah, you can take in any variable name.
okay.
So I just take in look. Yeah, d
Okay.
here.
Sure.
It's
Thank you.
local variable. So you have global variable and local variable created, but I'm not using it anyway. The same example, just that like I've created two extra variables, but I'm not adding it. If I just run it again, like we are just passing like b and c. So adding b and c, we are going to get the sum, which is 7 plus 8, the same thing. So now for the same thing, what we are going to do is, I'll just add this local variable extra here, like plus d. What do you think will be the output? So the same example, I've just created this local variable, right? For the sum, I'm just adding b plus c plus d. And when I call this function, it's going to take two inputs, right? So I just gave like 7 plus 8, 7 and 8 here. So if I just run this, what do you think would be the output?
So it will add D also.
It would add
18.
d also, so it would be 18, right? So if I just run this, it's correct. So we just have like b plus c before. So when you pass b and c here, it's already having d declared here, so it just gets added here. 7 and 8 you pass it. So some like we have extra d, so you got 18 here, right? So let's take the same thing, and now let's add a. What do you think would be the output? Will it be 28 or throws error or 18 itself, like, or 15? What do you think would be the output would happen here? You can just give out, oh, okay, I can see the options here. Okay, 18, 18, 18. Okay, before, I think it's for the before question. 28, 28. Okay, correct. So if I just run it, so now you see that like I have a global variable, local variable. I didn't do anything, but if I just want to add everything together, it did work. It didn't throw any error. I got 28 here, right? So if I now want to modify a equal to a plus, I want to modify this global variable 10 to 12 here just by writing an increment statement. A equal to a plus 2. So if I just run this, what do you think would be the output? Now I just modified this a as 12. Will it be 30? Okay, so yeah, correct. Error, yeah. Oh, name where you say 30, let me just run it. So cannot access local variable a where it is not associated with a value. So we got an error saying cannot access local variable a where it is not associated with a value, but we just created this before the user defined function, right? So if you clearly see the difference between both the activities. So if you have a global variable, if you just want to use it, it would still work inside a user defined function. You can use it for addition, you can use this value. But when you want to modify this global variable inside this user defined function, it did throw this error. So as the note says, to modify the value stored in a variable using a user-defined function, we need to declare that variable with the global keyword inside the function. So if you want to do any modifications on a global variable, so we have to declare it like a saying it's a global variable, like global a. So if you just write the statement declaration of this particular variable as global, then it would work. So this extra line of code we have to do it when you want to modify a global variable inside the local variable. So declare with global keyword. So the famous example which I use to explain this global and local variable is that so when we travel from our countries to different countries for tourist purpose, we need visas, right? So we just need visas to enter any particular country there. So you can travel around and come back with a visa. But if you want to go for a country like maybe like Maldives, you can take it like if you want to go there and work there, then we need a permit from that particular country to grant us work permit or a work visa. So the same way here, just like a tourist, the global variable can roam around the user defined function. But if you want to do some work inside the user defined function, it needs a visa called global keyword. Without that, it cannot work inside. It would be illegal and it would throw error. So just remember that, like for some purpose, like if you're creating user defined functions in future and you want to modify that inside a user defined function, do declare them like global. If not, it would throw error. So any questions here? Any questions? Okay.
No.
Okay, great. So let's just comment this and run it. Okay, so now we just created user-defined function, right? So, and yesterday we have done if conditional statements. So, I would like to, I like you can try this activity. Write a function that acts as a simple calculator. It should take 3 arguments, 2 numbers, and an operator. So, your function, the task of the function is to simply work like a calculator, where if you give two values like 2 comma 5 and you give the symbol plus, that means it should add and give the output 7. If you just give like the same 2 and 5 with the operator minus, it should give -3. And if you would have given operator 2 and 5 then it should give like output 10. So the task of your user defined function is to take in two numbers and four operators. Any of the four operators should work and return the result. So try this activity of creating a simple user defined function to create a calculator. So you can try this on your collapse. Just try, like, if you are not, if you feel like it's little difficult, if you are doing it for the first time, just try with the syntax, just go through the activities, just try from your end. Whatever you feel like, you keep typing, then check like where do you stand. So if you are done, yeah, you can just put your code in the chat. So take a minute and try. Okay, I'll also start typing here, so you can still keep on trying. Just don't look at my screen. Just try on your collapse. Okay. So anybody able to finish this activity from your end? Created the calculator? You can just give a thumbs up if you are done. Or facing any difficulty doing the activity? We just have to mix up the concept of creating a user-defined function using def keyword and then conditional statements, because we need to do four operations here. So should I run it from my end? Okay, so you can just see my screen now. So I created a calculator with the name like calculator itself, taking two inputs, and operator would be given as the third input. So double equal to is checking the similarity. So if I run this and give a comma b and any operator of plus, minus, asterisk and hash, then accordingly that particular block will enter. So yesterday we said like to enter inside the if block, this condition is true, only then we are going to enter into this particular block. If it's false, then it will check for the next one. If it's false, for the next one, and so on. If anything, all the four fails, then it would go for the else, and whatever is inside the else statement, it would run it. So if I just call the calculator function and give any numbers and give like operator, it would give us the value. So it would work like a simple calculator here. Any questions with this? Then we would have got the addition. So if you are able, like if you are doing programming for the first time, if you are able to at least figure out 50% of creating this activity, then it's a good progress. If you have completed it, it's fantastic. So let's go for our next activity where we are importing a module. So now the question would be, what is a module, right? So some functions in Python cannot be used directly. To use such a function, you first need to import a module in which that particular function exists, and then use the required function. This is for ready-made functions. There are thousands of ready-made functions available with Python. So you can think of like this, like if there is a library with a lot of books. So if you observe, like any library is organized, like if you want to get a particular section of mathematics textbook, maybe you would like know like where's the mathematics book stand is there, maybe it's divided class wise, like we can find it in like 5 to 10 minutes when it's organized. So the same way for Python programming, in the backend, there are a lot of functions. So some of the functions are organized in shelves called modules. Like, so think of this like in the backend of Python, it's like a library where you have all the functions stored. We have different shelves where few functions are stored here, and maybe they have different module names, so the shelf names kind of. So for print function or type function or input function, which we have used are the regular function, maybe like newspapers, you can think of like where we directly call the function and use it, we didn't add any prefix to it. But the functions which are stored in modules, so to use that particular function, we have to use a syntax where first we have to import the module name at least once by using the import keyword, and next time when you call the function, it would have the module name dot the function name. So this is a syntax of using a function if it's in a modules. Now the question would be, how would I know like if that particular is in a module or not? It comes with practice. So print function and all this function we were using, we know like we don't need modules for it. So the functions which we use regularly, we would come to know like this particular function is in this module, then only we can use it. So you don't have to memorize anything for this particular activity. You just have to remember the concept. So for few functions, we cannot directly use them. We first have to import the name of the module, then we have to call the function with the module name. So always import a module at the very beginning of your code. Once you import a particular module, you can use all the functions which are inside it without importing again and again. So you have to import at least once. So this collab notebook, like it's collaborated for multiple people to work on it. So if I run it from my end, if your teammate is running, he has to import it from your end, his end too. So the module needs to be imported only once. However, everybody has to import a module at least once at their respective ends. And the dot operator is to call a function from a module. So let's do a small activity where we are going to generate a random number between 1 to 6 using the randint function. So there is a ready-made function called randint function where you can give two inputs like the start number and the end number. Each time you run it, that particular function will give you randomly one of the numbers from the range we are going to provide for it. So it would work like a virtual dice. So for the board games, we are going to use the dice where you have 1 to 6 numbers, right? So you can use this function like that, but you cannot use randint function directly without the module. So this randint function is in the module called random. So it has a lot of other functions too. This is one of the function which is inside this shelf called random. So import random. Once I import it, now I'll just store it in die role. So now I want to use the function. First the module name dot the function name, and the dice will have numbers from 1 to 6, start number and the end number. So if I just, so for board games, if you have collab notebook access, so you can just write 3 lines of code and you have your virtual dice with you. If I run it, you can see like from 1 to 4 randomly I got 4 here. So if I, so now 6, so each time I run it, like I'm going to have like randomly it's changing, like from 5 now it's 1, so again 1. So it's like a die roll. Any questions here? Okay, it's like a surname and the full name. Yeah, go ahead, like if you have any questions.
No need to say print, right?
Only for the collab, if you want to print only one variable here. So without print statement, you can directly see the output here. But if
Okay.
you, yeah, so you have like two variables, and if you want to see the both like A and B, then you would see only the last one. Then we need the print statement. If you want to see both, then
Mhm.
I don't think this without print statement, just seeing the output, it would work with Jupyter, and not with all IDEs. You can see the output like this. So yeah, print statement is required. Print function is required. So
Okay.
we
So
have to
we are
input a
anyway
module. Yeah.
importing the module, right? Should we still use the module name dot random int?
Yes. The function you are using always like we have to put in uh, module name dot function
Okay.
name. And
Hi,
yeah,
hi, Meenakshi.
yeah,
Um, the thing is like this import function can be only can be used for a built-in functions. So, like for example, like whatever the
yes,
like built-in functions within the language itself. So, but I
correct.
cannot call any function module, right? Like say in an application they may have a number of modules, but that I cannot do. It's only built-in function,
Yeah,
like
built-in functions. Yeah, in the backend, like what, like the modules are organized with some special functions in it. So to
uh-huh.
use such ready-made function, we have to import that particular module and then we use this syntax and use it. So coming
Okay.
classes, there are like famous modules like pandas, numpys, which are coming. Like we are going to use a lot of functions from it. So
Okay.
like, and you don't have to memorize anything. Like whatever comes like this, now you know like there is a module called random here. There's a
Uh-huh.
function called random for just like for this purpose we have seen it, but don't go around. Like if you are interested, you can explore what are the different functions available within the random module like that. But don't try to memorize anything. It
Mm-hmm.
gets overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thank
with
you.
practice, you would get to know all the important functions.
Mm-hmm. Thank
So now we are going to see something called Python list because if you remember variable, when we spoke about variable is like a container where we can store a value inside it. How many values can you think we can store inside a variable? Correct, Archana, it's one. Yeah. So you can
you.
store single value inside a variable, right? So if you want to store multiple values, we need data structures. So Python, there are different data structures which are coming from now on. Like there is list, dictionaries, tuples, so on. So We'll start with list. So before starting Python list, let us just understand the concept of data structure. We know that variables can store only one value at a time. Data structures are used to store multiple values inside a single variable in an organized way such that the values can be easily accessed and modified. So Python list, as the name suggests, we use list every day as to also keep a list of things, like multiple things at one place. So Python list is a data structure where you can store multiple values inside one single variable. So how to create a Python list? We are going to say it like Python list is a data structure which can contain more than one value at a time. A value in a list is generally referred to as an item or an element. You can call values inside the list as item or an element. So to create Python list, the syntax is that we'll give all the values inside the square brackets. Each item in a Python list is separated by a comma. So we have different features. We are going to do all the features with examples too. One thing is it's ordered. Elements in a list have a defined order, and this order will not change unless explicitly modified. Mutable. So mutable means the sense like once you create a list, you can modify the list by adding, removing, or changing the place and all. Heterogeneous in the sense we have different data types, right? You can create single list with different data types inside it. And dynamic, because like you can grow and shrink in size since it's changeable. So these are different features, but we'll explore the features by taking different examples. So let's create a simple Python list, maybe fruits list I'm going to create. So again, it's like a variable name I've given for the list here. To create a list, it just said use the square brackets. So I'm going to give the square brackets here and give some fruit names like mango. So I'm going to store like multiple fruits here. So if I just print fruits, you will see that a list is created with 4 fruits inside it. This is how we create a simple list. Now you can try from your end, like create any list of your choice. Any simple, like whatever you think of, like just try on your sheet, use the square brackets, give different string or numbers and just separate it with comma and try, you can just create a list with numbers like 1 2 3 4 5. Now it's a Python list with numbers inside it. If you remember, type function would show you the type of the data type, right? If I just use type over this list, you would see that it would show you it's a list. So for the fruits too, like so you can also try creating the list. So there is like in and not in keywords. So in and not in keyword would return a boolean output. Like if a particular value is inside the list, it would return true. If it's not inside the list, it would return false for us. So we have created this fruits list with mango, orange, grapes, apple, right? Let me just check if apple in fruits. So since apple is in this fruits list, if I just run it, would return true. So you can think of like this, like if you are working in a company with 10,000 employees, so that there's a list with all the employee IDs. So if you want to check if a particular person details are there inside a list in that particular list or not, you can use in and not in keyword just to filter the data. So it's case sensitive again. If I just check apple in fruits, it would just it's false because we have like small case apple but not uppercase. So let's explore features of Python list where we've just said it's ordered, mutable, heterogeneous and dynamic. So let's first check yeah, so before moving to activities, let us explore some basic features like this can store elements of same type and different types. You can count like if there are 10,000 or 2,000 values inside a list. So if it's a small list, we can count it manually. But if you just want to count, like we have a function called count. If you want to add in new elements, there's different functions, use different ready-made functions for it. So we'll explore one by one. So first we'll check with multiple data types. So before we created first list with fruits where it has only strings and then numbers, only numbers, right? So here we can now create a list where I can have different data types, like John, his age is 22, his maybe height 5.11, and like any Boolean value. So we have like 4 different data types here, right? String, integer, float, and Boolean. So I can create a list with multiple data types in it. It would work. You don't see any uh, error here. So you can create a list with multiple data types. So this is one thing. And then
One quick
yeah,
question,
yeah,
Minaki, how do I know that? Okay, first at least the John, you have given the values, right? How do I
yeah.
know what it represents the data type? Like say the second one, it says 32.5, but then how do I know it is age or height or like that? Should we specify the data type somewhere to
It's like
do the mapping?
mapping, there's a different data structure. If you want to do the mapping, we have dictionaries for it, where you can store key value pairs, where you can give like key is like name and then the value there. So here
Okay,
for list, it's like yeah, storing multiple items in it. That's it. So for example, in this case, like just to like giving random numbers, I gave a meaning to it. That's it. So it's not like you
okay,
have to know what this value indicates here. So we
okay,
just have to know, like, you can store multiple data types in the list.
okay.
So it won't throw error. That's it.
So this is
So
just for knowing how to use the list, but
yes,
we are not.
yeah. So
Okay,
maybe, yeah. So maybe
okay.
it's like
Thank you.
it becomes like list John, where you're given the details of John. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So and now for checking, like, the count of a particular item in a list. So if you see numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, something is repeating here. You want to check the count of 6 here. So we can use the function dot count. The syntax is like the list name, then you put in dot count and whatever item we are counting. If you are counting 5, then you put in 5 here and it will show like 5 is repeating only 1. If you want to count like 6, it will just give you the count of 6. It's repeating 4 times, so you can see the count of it. So these things we have no control, like why we have to put in the list name first, then count. It's a syntax which is created in the backend, so we just have to learn how to use it. So count function would count as the number of times the item is particularly repeating. It would give us the occurrence of a particular item. So, and once this list is created and you want to add a new value to it, maybe for this numbers list I want to add 1000. So there is this function called append. So numbers dot append. I want to append 1000 to it. So if I just run it, okay, let me just print it. You would see that 1000 got added now. And when you use this append function, it will always append it to the end of it. Like new item always gets added at the rightmost end of the list. And yeah, if I just run it again, one more 1000 gets added. So now you can see like append function is used to add a value to a list. And if you want to find the length of a list, then we have the function called length. It would give you the length of all the items inside the list. So total 14 items are here. So you just got the length as 14 here. So the syntax, like when you use len function, len, and then we have given the list number inside it. When we have used append function, you have the list name dot append, and then whatever value we are appending, we are putting it here. So, and list indexing. So what is list indexing? In the sense, in the starting we said, like, list are something where you have order, list have a order here. So all the numbers here are going to have a order which is like rule numbers in school. So But the thing is, rule numbers usually start with 1, but list indexing, which indicates the location of the element, always starts with 0, not 1. So we call it like 0 based indexing. So to get an item located at each index in a list, just write the list name followed by the square brackets, and inside the brackets enter the index number. So you have a list. So here Indian language lists are there, right? So in the back, like this particular list, there is an indexing too. So if you want to print a particular value based on the location, so these index numbers are nothing but they are giving the location of that particular item. So Hindi is located at 0 position, Bengali is at position 1. So it's ordered. So here we now have a new list which is called Indian language. And so if you want to get the length of this list, then we can use the len function. You would see that total 10 different languages are here. So if you want to print Bengali, so you can use the indexing method and print it. The syntax is list name, square brackets, and inside that give the number, like index number. So the list name, and I want to print Bengali. The index number of Bengali is 1 here. So if I just run it, I can just get the output Bengali here. If I want Gujarati in the output, what do you think the index number of Gujarati here? If I want to print
6.
6, so if I just put in 6 here, so yeah, you might have calculated by 1 here. So index number starts from 0, so it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Canada got the index number 6. It starts from 0. We call it like 0 based indexing. So
Okay.
it's 5 here. So you would see that it's Gujarati now. So in a list, the index which indicates the location of element always starts with 1, not 1. Starts with 0, not 1. This is called 0 based indexing. To get an item located at each index in a list, just write the list name followed by the square brackets. Inside the brackets, give the index number. So this is one thing here. Like, any questions here with the indexing? Like, we still have to for like next we are going to see how to slice a list and all. Like if you want to get values from Hindi to Marathi, or maybe like Gujarati, Kannada, and Malayalam in the output, we can slice it. How to do it? We are going to see it in the coming activities. But yeah, indexing starts from 0. Just remember that. And we have negative indexing also. Like if you have a list of 10,000 values and you want to print last third value, so instead of counting, like we have negative indexing, it's like uh, they have like 2 rule numbers. So negative indexing, we have the last value gets the index number -1, -2, so on till -n, which is like -10 here. So you can either use positive indexing method or negative indexing method, both works. So the same Gujarati, if you want to get it from the negative indexing, it's like -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. So you can use negative indexing too. Yeah. So we have 0 based indexing and negative indexing. So you can use negative indexing to get items from a list. They begin with -1. -1 is for the last item, and again it continues. -n would be the first item. So you can try 0 based indexing, and you can try what is the index number of Malayalam using negative indexing? Using the character china, it's -3, -1, -2, -3, right? If I want to print Malayalam in the output, I would just write -3 here. So negative indexing, positive indexing, and we will see all these activities like list slicing. Like if you want to particularly remove an item from a list and all, how to do it. it's coming in the next activities. So we'll just do this for loop and stop for today. We are going to do this last activity. We did while loop yesterday, right? So for repeating something, we given a condition for the while loop, and we can see that particular code gets repeated as long as the condition is true. But we have for loops too. So for loop is also used to repeat or iterate a set of items for a fixed number of times. If you want to print first 5 natural numbers used for using for loop, so we have done yesterday with while loop, like I equal to 1 we have created, then we said like while I less than or equal to 5 print I, and then we give the increment statement for I like this. Then we just printed 1 2 3 4 5. Using the for loop, the same thing we can print for I in range. We can use the range function where you can specify the range 1 comma. So we need values from 1 to 5, right? So the last value is not included for the range function. So we give one extra value here and put a colon, and you just print I. So we don't have increment statement here. What all the values from the range gets printed. So usually when you want to iterate a particular value based on the condition, we are going to use the while loop. But if you know the range specifically, you know the range already, you don't have a condition, we use the for loop. So both have their own places. This is just how we create a for loop here. So when you use the range, you have the start and end for I in range. So the same numbers from 1 to 5, you just give like 6 here without the start value. By default, it would start from 0. Then you'll get like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the same thing, yeah. So the range function, if you just specify 0, 6, you're going to get the same output. The last value is not included. So if you just give like 1, 5, then what would be the output? What would be the values if you just want to print like range 1, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure, I'm just running this. So you would get like 1, 2, 3, 4, because for the range function, the last value is not included. If you want till 6, then till 5, then you have to do plus 1 here. Then it would work. Yeah, so you can directly give 6 here. So this is how you do a simple for loop. So these are just the basics we have started with. Like as the course progress, like depending on for which task we are using, we might have to make a for loop little complicated there, like that. But the syntax is simple like this. You just have the range function, but you can just see the difference between for and while loop. Like while loop runs on a condition, we have an increment statement. We are avoiding increment statement for loop. So just try this activities from your end. So tomorrow we'll start with list slicing. Like we have indexing method, right? If you just want to print from Hindi to Marathi, how to do it based on index numbers, we'll do from activity, like we'll continue from activity 8 tomorrow. So just go through the activities once, have a quick glance, just at least run all the activities from your end if you didn't able to do it in the class. So I'll just save it. So open the link. Yeah. So if you have questions, you can stay back. If not, yeah, good night. Take care. See you tomorrow.
I mean, actually, I am new, so I can
Okay.
take few minutes of your time after,
Sure,
you know.
sure, sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. You can stay back.
So, yeah,
Yeah, you
thank you.
can stay back. And once you finish, like we are going to have everything organized in one place. Like you don't have to go here and there for the links also. We'll put everything together in the Word document.
Okay.
So we'll be sharing the link in the class. And yeah, Archana, like how can we get links for the practice? So we don't have two separate links for each class. In the start, we share the link. You have to make a copy of it. Then you have a link without any codes there. by the end of the class, on the same link, I'll just save it because you'll have everything gets like all the codes which I've done in the class gets updated. So yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Meenakshi. This is Harita. So I have a quick question. So I'm
Yeah,
basically
sure.
a QA. How is this course useful for QA?
Quality analysis.
Yeah. Like I'm a tester
So,
basically. I'm into
okay, testing.
testing.
So right now, the all different professions are shifting towards AI, right? So I've recently come across one of my friend working with testing. So they also have this. Right now, they have pressure like everyone should start learning AI because now they have like generative AI in testing. So they have to start using artificial intelligence in testing too. So but the
Right.
automation testing and all also like you have different tools, I guess. Like I'm not sure like now, but yeah. So any field you are in, like even in healthcare, manufacturing, mining, where data is involved, and yeah, so we have tools. So it's
Mm-hmm.
becoming compulsion in every field. So they have to
Got
shift.
it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So even you are teaching machine learning, right, going forward. So
Yes.
I was just
Going
wondering, like,
forward, yeah.
how if it will benefit me, like spending my time as a tester, if it will be useful.
Yeah, but right now, yeah, market is shifting towards AI. So you specifically have courses saying like Gen AI for testing too. So maybe the like yeah, but you have to go through this basics. You have to have the understanding of whole AI. So
Mm-hmm.
tools, maybe you can get it. Like I'm not teaching any specific tool which would be useful for software testing, but you would get an understanding how AI is, how to start with Python, what machine learning is, when you have a data separately, how to do the data analysis and how to model it and all. So
Okay.
it's end to end. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
And